Okay, in the face of the heated attacks from pro-Palestinian protesters slamming America's support for Israel, President Biden now appealing to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for a temporary pause as both countries race to get hostages out of the war-torn Gaza Strip. Joining us now, John Kirby, National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications. John, thank you for being here. Always good to have you with us. I want to remind everyone of the president's words when all of this first began, right after October 7th, in his first statement. And then we will hear from one of these protesters at the White House a couple of days ago. Watch this.
Israel has the right to defend itself and its people, full stop. And my administration's support for Israel's security is rock solid and unwavering.
You have a whole generation of voters coming up who are going to be able to vote in this next election. And if you don't stop this genocide now, you will not get these votes.
What does the president think about those two things? Is he still rock solid behind Israel in all of their ways as they try to achieve their goal to eliminate Hamas? And what rings in his ears from inside the White House when he hears this woman saying, we have a whole generation of voters out here?
Well, there's an awful lot to unpack there. Yes, he is absolutely still solidly and steadfastly in support of Israel and their right to defend themselves against this terrible threat by Hamas. And that's a threat that they still pose, Martha. So the security assistance is continuing to flow to Israel, and we're going to keep that up. And they have a right and responsibility to protect themselves from that, from never happening again. And the president is staying solidly behind them. He also understands that that there's a lot of emotions attached to what's going on, and he certainly respects that people around the country are going to have a different view. Now, that young woman used the word genocide, and that's a word that we absolutely would not ascribe to what's going on inside Gaza. That is not the goal of Israeli military forces. It's to go after Hamas. Now, civilian casualties are being are happening, and we don't want to see any, not one. But to ascribe what Israel's doing as genocide is simply untrue, false, and doesn't subscribe to the definition of what genocide is. That said, Hamas very much has genocidal intentions. Their whole purpose is to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, and their purpose on the 7th was to do nothing but slaughter and take hostages. That is a genocidal war aim.
Is there something in the works right now to get the hostages out? And is that why the president wants a 3-day pause? And has he heard back from Benjamin Netanyahu? He said he was waiting to hear.
So I don't want to I'm not going to confirm sort of this reporting about a 3-day pause. What I can confirm, Martha, is that we continue to talk to the Israelis about the benefit and the idea of humanitarian pauses, plural, because we think that there's multiple reasons and multiple locations where pauses could be useful, certainly in getting the hostages out, also getting humanitarian assistance in. We have had routine and frank discussions with our Israeli counterparts about the benefit of pauses. The Prime Minister has said, even as recently as just the last day or so, that he's open to considering pauses. That's a good thing, and we're going to continue to do that. I think it's also important to remember for your viewers that pauses have already occurred. This is not like a new idea that hasn't been tried. It helped us get those 2 Americans out, and it helped us get those
John,
2 Israelis out.
Here's what 2 things. We just talked to Major Spielman, and we've been showing video of this intense battle that is underway inside Gaza City. There wouldn't be a pause in that, correct?
So it's important to remember on pauses, Martha, they're going to be temporary, short in duration, localized on the map.
So is there a 3-day request or not? Was there a 3-day request? Because that's a long pause. That would give Hamas a lot of time.
I'm not going to confirm those reports about a 3-day request, but I think it's important to remember that a pause doesn't mean you have to pause all across the battlefront. A pause is localized for a certain piece of geography over a certain period of time.
Okay, I mean, everyone, we can all understand that. If it's, okay, they're going to be walking through this area, so we need to allow these hostages to leave and get through this area. We can understand that. But what I'm trying to figure out is it a promise to Hamas, we will stop? We'll stop, IDF saying we will stop, we'll pause, and if we do, you'll let them go? Or is it, as Netanyahu wants, he says there is no ceasefire, nothing. Yeah. We will keep going and going and going until you tell us that you are going to release them all.
Yeah, I'm not going to negotiate here in public on how we're trying to get these hostages released. The idea of a pause is, again, temporary in time, localized in scope, to allow for hostages safe passage to get from where they are being kept to where they can secure freedom. That's what we're talking about here.
I want to ask you a big picture question here, and I want to start by playing this from the brother of a Hamas hostage. Let's watch this.
This is a wake-up call, not only for Israel, not only for the Jewish community. This is a wake-up call for all of you here, all of America, all of Europe. You are next.
So when he talks about all of America and all of Europe, you are next. Wake up. Does the president believe that? And clearly he is talking about Iran.
Yeah, the president obviously is certainly mindful of a range of security threats that we face around the world, Martha, and certainly some of those threats emanate from the regime in Tehran. I mean, the attacks on our troops in Iraq and Syria are funded, resourced by the IRGC, which has direct ties to the supreme leader. We're certainly mindful of the threat that Iran poses. And as we have said before, I've said on your show, we're going to do everything we need to do to protect and defend our national interests in the region, to include, as we've already done, additional military forces poised and ready if it comes to that.
So, I mean, a lot of people, John, do not think we have done everything that we can to dissuade Iran from hitting and attacking our bases. You're a military man. What do you say to the members of our U.S. services? They are watching this incoming. You've got a couple of people who've suffered traumatic brain injuries and others who have been injured. When you're telling them, don't fight back. Just sit there. You're telling them, just sit tight at this moment and take it?
No, Martha, we're not telling them to just sit tight and take it. We have retaliated, and we retain the options of retaliating again.
With all due respect, John,
needed.
I've talked to military experts who say that retaliation is completely inconsequential, that Iran needs to be hit in a way that means something to them, that their command and control centers, which we know where they are. Is that something that this White House is willing to do?
We're not going to telegraph our punches on national TV, Martha. We're going to do what we have to do to protect our troops and our facilities. Our guys are there in Iraq and Syria for a legitimate purpose, still on a counter-ISIS mission. They're going to stay at that mission. We're going to make sure that they can do so as safely and effectively as possible.
So are you saying that they're not under an increased threat? Because we've seen these attacks accelerate since October the 7th. And the president said they were unrelated to what happened on October 7th. Do you really believe that?
I'm not saying that they're not under threat. I mean, my goodness, they have continued to come under rocket and drone attacks. Of course, they're under threat, and we're going to do what we have to do to protect and defend our interest and protect and defend them. And we'll do that. We'll do that on a time and in a manner of our choosing.
But do you believe that Iran has ramped up since October the 7th on these attacks on our bases? Do you believe that it's related to what happened on October 7th in Israel?
There have been a series of additional attacks. It's difficult to know exactly what the purpose is. We can't dismiss the possibility that some of these stepped-up militia attacks are in response to our support for Israel. But as I said in the very first question that you asked me, we're going to continue to support our ally Israel in this fight against Hamas.
All right. So, in the beginning of the Ukraine battle, we watched a very concerted effort on the part of the White House to not accelerate, to not escalate, not to entice Russia to go bigger. Is that the mentality against Iran too? That there's a very cautious feeling that you do not want to escalate, so you got to be careful around your decisions in retaliation with Iran?
Well, look, you always got to be careful when you're talking about national security decisions. We've said it from the very beginning. We don't want to see any actor escalate or deepen or widen this conflict. And that is why the president has ordered 2 carrier strike groups to be close by and in the region, both in the Mediterranean and in the Gulf region. We have added air and missile defense capabilities. We've added aircraft squadrons. We have sent a very strong signal that we have significant national security interests at play here. We don't want to see anybody try to take advantage of this fight against Israel and Hamas.
Okay. John, thank you very much. Good to have you here. Thank you.